Monday, 20 July 2026. 3 Asia-Pacific AI stories before your first coffee. Beijing's anthropomorphic AI rules took binding legal effect this week, making China the first major economy to regulate how humanoid robots and digital avatars interact with the public. In the same policy cycle, Australia announced mandatory AI standards after 5 years of voluntary governance. Japan's METI launched a national AI factory program focused on physical AI systems. And Malaysia's digital ministry opened its AI governance bill for public consultation. The 4 moves landed within a single week, marking the densest burst of Asia-Pacific AI regulation in 2026 so far. Why it matters? Operators building humanoid robotics, avatar platforms, or embodied AI products for the China market now face hard compliance obligations covering disclosure, behavioral constraints, and identity verification, with enforcement teeth that voluntary codes never carried. Australia's shift to mandatory standards signals that the light touch era across the Anglosphere Pacific is closing, and compliance teams at multinationals serving both markets will need to run parallel regulatory stacks. Japan's physical AI factory program channels public compute and data infrastructure toward robotics and industrial automation, giving domestic builders a subsidy edge that foreign entrants will struggle to match. Malaysia's consultation window is the one to watch for Southeast Asian founders. Whatever template Kuala Lumpur locks in is likely to influence ASEAN harmonization talks scheduled for late 2026. So Singapore's monetary authority is extending its fairness and ethics framework, along with its Veritas testing toolkit, to cover generative AI models used inside banks. The move requires lenders to demonstrate that any AI system touching customer outcomes is governed end-to-end before it goes live, with senior managers, not vendors, carrying personal accountability for model behavior. Most banks in the city-state have already rolled out internal co-pilot tools for staff, but customer-facing generative deployments remain limited precisely because the compliance pool was expected to rise. Why it matters? MES is drawing a line that treats a hallucination inside a regulated banking process the same way it treats any other compliance failure, which means risk and compliance teams now need tooling to monitor generative outputs in near real time. Banks that moved fast on internal assistance will feel this first, because scaling those tools to customer-facing channels now requires a governance layer that most have not yet built. Capital allocators should watch the vendor market for model monitoring and explainability platforms in Southeast Asia, where demand is about to spike. Regional supervisors in Malaysia, Thailand, and the Philippines are already studying the MAS approach, so any framework that emerges here is likely to set the template across ASEAN. Now, finance chiefs across Asia's largest enterprises are escalating AI inference costs to a board-level line item, as surging token consumption outpaces the per-unit price drops delivered by model providers. Indian IT services firms, Singapore banks, and Japanese corporates each face distinct pressure points. India's outsourcers absorb inference costs inside fixed-fee client contracts. Singapore's banks run compliance-heavy reasoning chains that multiply token counts, and Japanese firms pay a compounding penalty when dollar-denominated API bills land against a weakening yen. Total inference spend across the region is climbing even as headline token prices fall by 70 to 90% year-on-year. Why it matters? The gap between cheaper tokens and bigger bills rewrites how operators budget for AI. CFOs who modeled cost on per-token list prices are discovering that reasoning models, longer context windows, and agentic workflows can triple effective consumption in a single quarter. The first teams feeling this are platform engineering groups now being asked to implement semantic caching, prompt routing, and per-product token metering before new workloads get approved. For capital allocators, the signal is clear. Inference optimization tooling from smart routers to on-premise distillation stacks becomes a funded category across APAC. The second-order effect worth tracking is whether rising dollar-denominated inference bills accelerate the push by Asian sovereigns and conglomerates to fund locally hosted, local currency-priced model infrastructure. That is your AIinAsia briefing for today. Stay sharp, build well, see you tomorrow.